Okay. YouTube and Facebook is live. TikTok is live. Oh, Joko. Joko's got a new TikTok. Used to be Spartacus, Zeticus.
I'm not getting the TikTok live. Let me open it and go back out. Nope, still not live. There we are. Now I am. Now we are. There we are. Okay, got it. So one of my neighbors emailed or Facebook posted a while ago that MetroNet is putting up. I don't know. What's the fancy cable?
Metro PCS.
No, it's called MetroNet here, but it's just an online service. It's not cable TV. It's just internet. So anyway, they haven't been in our neighborhood yet, but it looks like they're hooking it up right now. So if that's the case, I'll be switching over to them, getting rid of this damn Spectrum.
There we go.
It's supposed to be what's the fancy cable? Not fiberglass, fiber optics.
Fiberglass.
Yeah, it's fiberglass.
Fiberglass. All right, it's 8:00. Good evening, lunatics. It's Friday, June 21st.
First day of summer, isn't it?
I think it was yesterday, maybe. Or no, well, it's West Virginia Day.
June 21st is meteorological summer.
Okay.
I guess I didn't teach you that in school in West Virginia.
I can tell you this. I didn't need a proclamation because it's hotter than Satan's anus out there.
Yeah.
So I didn't really need
I mowed today, so
on the calendar. There's no question. Hey, buddy, it's summertime because it's hot as hell.
Yeah, I mowed today, and it was hot out there.
Yeah, I'll be mowing. I've got plans about 6. I think sunrise is 6:02 Sunday morning. I'll be there about the time the sun comes up, and hopefully I'll be done before my skin starts fluffing off.
Are you allowed to mow the grass on the Sabbath in West Virginia without getting thrown in jail or anything?
I don't ask permission for many things, so
yeah,
I reckon we'll find out. Josh is trucking. Says before you start. Oh no, we're gonna lead off with this one. Josh's trucking adventures on YouTube is going to start the show off with a bang. Before you start, I found a BCO that had a 2020 Volvo and will pay 30% of line haul. He has a low turnover rate. You think that's a decent idea just because he'll let me, and I live in Phoenix. On the face of it, 30% of line haul is not a bad deal as long as it's line haul and it's not some concoction of, well, we're gonna come up with this Pythagorean theorem, and then you'll be determined. And by the way, I'm not going to send you any of the freight bills, so just wink, wink. Just take my word for it. So number one, if it ain't wrote down, it didn't happen. Which means you get a copy of the freight bill for every load, and then you can reconcile to your paycheck, which better be a W-2, by the way.
It starts out sounding good, but I still would I would not let your guard down because sometimes you put up something that smells good to cover up a pile of shit over here. Okay,
right.
So I would investigate all other forms of aromatic exposure that you're subject to, and make sure that it's not just disguising something else that you don't want to participate in. If that's really what it is, that's fine, you know.
And it's written down and it's in a contract, and you're going to be a W-2. And he says W-2 dispatch himself. It doesn't sound terrible. I mean, there's no major red flags, but I have literally seen deals where these people will sign up for some kind of percentage of profit.
Right.
What's profit? You know, Had one guy, oh, and I can't remember, but boy, you talk about a formula. They made him take the fuel advances and had the fuel advances some kind of his pay. And I got the calculator out and I said, dude, do you realize what a screwing you're getting? And he just looked at me with a blank stare on his face.
Yeah, and not to mention any names, but that is a very, very big fleet in Landstar.
Yeah. Speaking of screwing, Clarence McGee is bragging about it being 80 degrees in Montana. But when your wife sees that Facebook post of you making fun of her parking job, you're probably not going to live to see 82 degrees because I saw how that went.
Yeah, that's another example, though, of having a nice smell here to cover a pile of shit there. Because in Montana, a few months from now, tell me what the temperature is up there, okay?
Yeah.
The average temperature for the year might be 32 degrees, okay?
Yeah. It'd be minus 80 when you get there. Yeah.
You have all that you want, okay? We will not compete with you in Montana. You can have all that business. We will not be up there.
I mean, I make this promise to myself every year when it gets about the coldest, and I promise I won't complain when it gets hot. And then it gets to about its hottest, and I'm like, boy, I sure could live with some of that cold weather right now because at least I can put on enough clothes to stay warm. I can't take off enough to stay cool without there being issues and problems that are created from that.
Police involved. And
yeah.
Going back to the BCO, make sure there's no quadratic equations in that contract anywhere. Okay.
Yeah. And that there's a contract.
Yeah.
Needs to be a contract. You should know what you're getting paid and how you're going to get paid. It shouldn't be, just trust me. That's not how we do business. Just trust me. It'll all work out.
And do not think that Landstar is going to police that. He's got to be doing the right thing. He's with Landstar. Absolutely not.
Mm-mm.
Absolutely.
No, Landstar could not even possibly care less about what happens to you, nor should they.
No.
Nor should they.
But a lot of people assume that. They say, well, Landstar won't how does Landstar let them do that? Well, Landstar lets them do it because it's none of their damn business.
Hey, let me tell y'all something here real quick. I know a guy, okay? I know a guy.
I met a guy.
I've met a guy. I like this guy a lot and has a lot of great ideas. Some of them not so much. But I know a guy that had an idea to get these BCOs together and kind of make like a best practices. Hey, let's all what is it? Rising tide raises all ships, and we'll set some standards for hiring and making sure.
I wish you could have been in that meeting, by the way. I only wish you could have been in that meeting.
Yeah. Hey, guy, why don't you tell me about how that went?
No, I've blocked that out of my consciousness. Okay. It was a good idea, but it was it was like, let's just climb Mount Everest. It would be easier. So.
Oh, here's a good one. Steve LaPlante. Good evening. Second week at Landstar. Even with all the listening and watching the live events last August, it's hard to be confident and at ease with all of the decisions I have to make. That sums it up right there. I mean, if you're Josh's Trucking Adventures, if you're Steve LaPlante, if you whoever you are, Landstar is so very, very different than anything you've ever experienced. And there's all these decisions to make. And some of them have to be made instantly right now. You don't have time to sit and think about it. It's I have to go right now. I have to make this decision immediately, good or bad, pass or fail. And it's really, really difficult to be in that position and have that happen.
But that's why they make pocket size calculators. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Because the calculator will never lie to you. It will never lie to you. And we have to make decisions. I was talking to a guy the other day and he said, we were talking about dispatching and booking loads. And he says, what rate per mile do you look for? And I said, I don't look for rate per mile. I don't care about rate per mile. I care about cost per mile. And I said, so I'm gonna book loads that will pick up today and deliver tomorrow or the next day that meets my minimum revenue goals, and I don't care how heavy it is. I don't care.
Well, you were talking to a BCO who was contacting us about possibly mentoring him.
Yeah.
That's where this conversation started, and
And
that entire conversation was frustrating because here's a guy. And again, we won't use any names. But here's a guy that last year at Landstar put $20,000 in his bank. Okay, out of $150,000 revenue generated, whatever time period it was. I don't think it was a year, but let's just say it was last year. And I mean, again, 20 grand out of 150 grand. That's not acceptable.
but
But
the,
yet,
the conversation,
he in his mind he didn't because he knew better. But in his mind, you could see the wheels turning. He was questioning our judgment on not considering rate per mile. And I'm finally just I said, dude, you made $20,000 last year. We could have made that on the street corner up here with a bucket, okay? And you want to question how we do things? Sometimes we just have to. Sometimes we don't want to really be an asshole, but sometimes you guys force us to be one because you question success.
So-
We don't stumble on these things and just try them because they sound good. We stumble on because we have proven them to be effective, and that's the course of action that we take. And we readily admit that a lot of the things we do are not mainstream. Matter of fact, most of the things we do are opposite of mainstream, because the mainstream people, look what I made 20 grand last year, okay, on $150,000 revenue.
so anyway, we were talking about booking loads, and
yeah, back to the story.
And I said, we're going to book on revenue. I don't care about rate per mile. And I said, if a load and the truck and the trailer weight altogether are less than 80,000 pounds, we're going to haul it. And he said to me, well, someone told me that my DD15 needs to be upgraded in order to haul 80,000 pounds. That my
his horsepower need to be need to be turned up.
DD15 in my like 27 or 2017 or 2018, whatever it is, Freightliner is not strong enough to haul 80,000 pounds, and so I have to upgrade the engine. Now I say that because I want, in conjunction with the whole starter debacle, that we didn't talk about that last week because it was happening. It happened after the podcast. But with the whole starter debacle, you got to understand that human beings today will look you in the face and absolutely lie their ass off and make up just unbelievably wild nonsense. Looking at you, Bob Murphy, I've been watching your TikToks. They make up this nonsense from, they don't make starters for 2004 Freightliners anymore. Brokers are taking 80% of the money.
And if you found one, it was going to cost $700 minimum.
Right.
Everybody knows that a starter for an older truck like that is going to start at $600 or $700. That's a quote from him.
Right. So that people will lie to you. $700 starters. Brokers take 80% of the rate. You have to upgrade your DD15 to pull an 80,000 pound load. There's true things like there's a truck in our fleet that started its life as a 2006 Century from Prime. It was a Prime truck pulling a reefer. Okay. And somewhere along the line, someone put an 18 speed in it, probably had a 10 or 9 or a 10 in it originally. They put an 18 speed in it. They double framed it and put a third drive axle on it and turned it into a 4-axle heavy haul truck that Phil, drove all over the place. Then we cut the third axle off of it, turned it back into a van truck. It had like 4 something rear ends. We changed the rear ends. We kept the 18 speed. We lobbed that axle off of it, pulled van freight with it. Now Evan's pulling a flatbed with it. So yeah, can you upgrade a truck to get it to do bigger things? That's absolutely true. Oh, Josh says newer trucks will break down less. You have to have a warranty. I mean, all of these things. My favorite among them is these knuckle dragging Neanderthals on TikTok and Twitter, whining about how their business is failing and they can't feed their family because of the brokers. Those are my favorites. That's my favorite source of ignorant, uneducated nonsense that is being spewed at people. And your only opportunity, your only chance to fend off the lies are to spend, of course, most of these things 5 minutes on Google. 5 minutes and you can dispel most of the nonsense that you hear on the television or you hear on the CB radio or you hear at the truck stop countertop or you hear in the TikTok. But if you just surround yourself with people that believe everything they think like you do, you're going to be constantly in this state of upheaval, just this emotional upheaval. You're going to be gaslit 24 hours a day because somebody is waiting to find whatever your button is and push it. And they're going to play on your fears and they're going to play on your ignorance. And you can do something about both. You can stop being fearful and you can stop being ignorant. Because all you have to do is just think a little bit, which I know is not allowed in American 24, just to be critical thinking and logic. That you shouldn't be doing that. But it's identity by association. It's that mother trucker guy drives me nuts because anybody that has a CDL, truck driver. Well, some of us are trying not to be truck drivers. We're trying to be business owners. And not be forced down under the moniker of the lowest possible common denominator. Anyway, I was about to get off on a tangent. William Haynes says everybody wants to know the secrets of the rich and successful, but nobody wants to believe there's no secret. It's simple things like revenue minus cost equals profit. Lower cost means higher profit. I got a bunch of the knuckle draggers wound up because we had a tire shop make a mistake last Friday. And we had a tire blowout on our Conestoga. And so we sent the driver to a tire shop. And the tire was replaced and she was going down the road. Well, Monday comes around. So Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. 4 days later, she sends a picture and that brand new tire is bald. Completely bald.
It is.
And we went, uh-oh. And I noticed, I'm like, man, that tire looks taller than that tire. Well, the guy took off an 11R and put back on a 22.5 Low Pro. And it destroyed that brand new Low Pro tire in 4 days. That's all it took was 4 days. I used that on TikTok as an example. Look, this is an extreme example. This is what happens with tall tire, short tire.
Oh, I didn't see that. I wish I could have seen that.
The same thing at a much slower rate. The same thing is going to happen to your tires if they are not properly matched. If you are hell-bent on running duals and they are not perfectly matched, same casing, same model, same manufacturer, same sidewall, same air pressure, the same thing is going to happen to your tires and they're going to wear out prematurely. So if you want maximum life out of your duals, they need to be perfectly matched and identical. And here come the mouth breathers. Well, it's not true. That ain't true. You're spreading falsehoods. You're spreading falsehoods on the internet because that's not true. And I said, well, everything about it is true. Now, can you put two mismatched duals together? Sure you can. Sure you can. And you are going to wear those tires out faster than if you would just perfectly match them up. And Larry has said for years how much truck drivers hate money. because they will not buy a good tire like a Michelin or a high quality Yokohama or Michelin, even a Bridgestone. Instead, to save $100, they'll buy this double coin junk that will cost them $10,000 a year in fuel. And then they'll mismatch all these tires and wonder why the truck rides like a hay wagon, why it shakes and vibrates all the time, and why the fuel mileage is terrible, and the tires wear out prematurely. And then they're complaining, well, man, these tires are terrible. They just run out, and they don't last long. Well, yeah, because you, Mr. Truck Operator, you're the problem. The tire's not the problem. The tire didn't do anything to you. You're blaming that poor tire for all your problems. But so yeah, that's on TikTok right now. Now I guess we should, for those that have not been paying attention, do you want to run through the starter thing real quick for the audience, for those that don't know?
I don't want to, but you certainly can.
Okay.
It's not a problem to me, but I'm not going to.
So Friday night, while we're doing the podcast, or maybe just before, it was just before the podcast, driver calls me and he said, hey man, I just stopped to get fuel. I shut the truck off. Truck won't start. So we went through some troubleshooting. He's got a jump box, and of course I asked, is it charged up? Yeah, it's charged up. I'm like, well, congratulations, brother. You're not driving around with a dead jump box, because I know that's how that's going to happen a lot of times. We put the jump box on, it won't happen. We're on FaceTime. He opens the hood and there's smoke coming out of the starter. And I said, well, I believe we've identified the problem. He wasn't far from the TA in Slidell, Louisiana. He was in Pearl River sitting at the pilot. So I called TA. Hey, do you have a starter? Yes, we have a starter. Great. Awesome. When can you be there? 2 hours. Outstanding. So I began the podcast. We're on the podcast and I'm watching up on the screen. Text messages begin to fly that TA can't make it till the next day. So Richie jumps to action and he finds this place called Quality
Fleet Services.
That word. See, it's like they start with quality. Quality Fleet Services of Louisiana. And he says they're going to run to the TA and pick up the starter, and they'll be on their way. And so they go to TA, they pick up the starter, they come back about 11 o'clock. Now Richie, probably because he's from Florida, don't plug his phone in, and his phone dies. And they don't have any number but his. So somewhere around 4 a.m., they conclude that the starter they got from TA was incorrect and doesn't fit this truck. So they leave. And they're upset because they can't get a hold of anybody because Richie's phone's off. So I wake up 7:30, 8 o'clock Saturday morning, getting ready to drive home from the beach. And I find out that we don't have a starter. I hear that they say, well, that starter was wrong. We're going to call the dealer. So I just picked up the phone, called the dealer, Empire. And I said, hey, look up this starter from my VIN number. He says, yep, got 6 of them right here, $440. And I said, well, brother, that's outstanding. So I called the road service, or maybe I instructed Richie to. So, hey, let them know we're in business. Dealer has a starter. Then I hear, well, the technician is at TA on the phone with the dealer because they're saying the starter is wrong. Because the starter they showed up with last night is identical to the one that we now have from the dealer. So some point, I don't know, 2 or 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And I had checked in with Dr. Carl Bonecutter because I'm trying to understand this starter thing. Like, why is this not working? This guy says this starter won't bolt up. So Carl says, no, man, it's not a problem. You just put the bolts in it and it's fine. So the guy finally shows up and I get Carl on FaceTime because this guy says, man, this starter will not work. And Carl says, nope, that's exact starter you need for that truck. You just got to get under the truck, hold the starter up, put the bolt in, Get your next 2 bolts in, and it will draw that starter right in. And this guy, his mind was blown. He was amazed that this guy on the magic telephone was telling him how to put this on. And then he says these words, well, how do you hook up all these wires? And I said, excuse me, I'm sorry. What did you just say? Well, the guy last night took all these wires apart and didn't label them, and I don't know how to put it back together because I've never put a starter on before. To which I heard Carl, Jesus Christ. So Carl, again, jumps in, hey, man, not a problem. Ain't no big deal. And so we begin, and I'm trying to explain to Travis, the driver, and I'm like, hey, buddy, listen, you're on deck, right? Like, you're there. Like, you're going to have to look at these wires, and you're going to have to watch this dude, okay? Well, days later, I find out that Travis had to call Herbie from Cams, and Herbie had to walk old boy through how to put the grounds and the powers and stuff on. So the truck is now running. That's the text I get. Hey, the truck's running. I'm like, awesome. Hallelujah. Glory be. Hey, man, this guy just took my license plate off. And I went, ruh-roh. We are in big trouble, because if we haven't even got the bill yet and you've already removed my license plate, I know that I'm fixing to get the biggest screwing I've ever had in my life. So the bill comes
100% dry too.
Dry as a bone. So the bill comes $3,118. Now remember, I've called Empire Truck Sales or Empire whatever Freightliner.
The Freightliner.
They told me the starter was
dealership.
Yeah. They told me the starter was $440. I know, because that would be my price. Now, listen, I'm at a shop every day, and I don't know if y'all know this, but shops get discounts from dealers. Okay. They don't pay what the customer off the street pays. So it's already marked up. And I think, okay, I'm like, well, 25, 30%, that's going to put the starter somewhere around $575 or so, marked up 30%. No. It was $930 they charged us for this starter. $1,480 some dollars in labor at $180 an hour, a show up fee and mileage. My favorite one was down at the bottom. It just said fees. Just fees. Doesn't say what kind of fees. It was $340 some dollars in just fees, whatever those are, plus a credit card fee. So we call the young lady, and we're all on it together, me, Larry, Richie, and we call this precious sweet girl that I hope finds a new job, because she works for Human Refuse.
The devil incarnate.
Yeah. So, so we get her on the phone and say, look, this bill is way out of bounds. And she says, well, I don't know anything about the bill. That comes from the accounting department. Okay, great. Well, Larry wants to know who owns this business, and she don't have a clue. To which Larry responds, you don't know who you work for? And she said, no, sir, I've only worked here a couple months. I'm just a dispatcher, where you can hear her children running around behind her. So we get this guy on the phone who says one name and then says another name.
No, he doesn't say that. I found it on the Secretary of State's registration.
Well, I know, but he said one name and then he said another name. But anyway, Clarence, no, we did not get the hot tour. Well, it did not happen for us.
No, we did not.
So he begins to tell us. I said, "Listen, man, this bill is way out of bounds. Considering the fact that you're charging me double for the starter, your guy comes and I have to get a mechanic on the phone. Now we know 2 mechanics on the phone to show him how to do it. He completely denies the whole thing. Hey, this guy does clutches. He can do a starter." And I'm like, well, then why did he tell me he didn't know how to do it? And why did I have to get a guy on FaceTime? And the piece de la resistance is, well, the problem is they don't make starters for your truck anymore. And so we have to do all of these, we have to jump through.
We have to modify it to fit your old truck.
Modify the starter, which you don't. Because I watched it live on FaceTime when the guy put the starter in and put 3 bolts in. He had the starter literally in 15 minutes. The old starter was out, but in 15 minutes, he had this starter bolted up. So this guy lied on multiple fronts. He lied about the qualifications of his mechanic. He lied about the availability and price of a starter. Well, you can't find those starters for less than $600-700. No, you can. You can find them on Amazon right now for $275. You can get one at Fleet Pride, known for their low prices.
And the dealer down the street from you's got 6 of them on the shelf.
$379, and the dealer also known for their low prices for $440. So the guy's a lying crook and a piece of shit. But what do you do, right? He's got the license plate, So we raised enough hell that the bill came down, I think, finally to just under $2,800. Now I'm gonna tell y'all something that I've learned. If you see trouble coming before you get too heated up, just pay it with your credit card, because the credit card companies, for whatever reason, if you dispute the charges, they will yank that money out of his bank account so fast that it'll make his head spin, and he will never get that money back. Okay, so just a little inside information. If we would have just gave the guy an American Express and called the next day and reversed the charges, he'd be going, "Hey, where's my money?" And I'm like, "It disappeared. I don't know what happened to it."
They don't make that for your pocket anymore.
Yeah,
we had to modify it.
Yeah, it had to be modified, and so go find the deepest, darkest hole you can and fornicate yourself, my friend,
with a cactus.
With a cactus. So that's the starter story, but it goes with every other thing. What happens, okay, if you're one of these broke owner-operators that I run into so often up at the shop, and somebody hangs you with a $2,800 bill, and they've got your license plate, and they're not going to let you go? Where are you going to get the money? Or do you have a relationship with someone like a carrier that you can call on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon and say, "Hey, I have a situation. I need y'all to step in here." And they're like, "Okay, yeah, that's fine. Here's a check." And done. How come you don't have a service agreement between you and Mobile Shop before the work begins? Mark Ely. It's kind of the Wild West out there, man. I mean, I see it when the calls come in up at Cam's when I'm there. And I watch, Zane or whoever's answering phone. All right, man. Hey, here's the deal. It's a $125 call out. It's $125 an hour, 2-hour minimum. So if I come to you, minimum is going to be $375, which is pretty standard. I know that if I call somebody out, the minimum I'm going to pay them is $350. That's just kind of minimum. I know that going in. So I fully expect $350. If they come and it's a fuse and they're there for 12 minutes, it's $350. Okay. Now, I've had a couple over time. One guy, I had a airline leak and we needed a brass union. That's all we needed. And the guy didn't have one. And he went back to the shop and he came back with the wrong one. He went back to the shop and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth. And so they had all these hours. And the guy's like, "Well, it'll be $950. And I said, "Brother, if you think I'm paying $950 for a brass fitting, you've lost your ever loving mind. It's not happening." "Well, we had to go get parts." I said, "No, sir. No, sir. You showed up in a service truck that did not have a 5/8 airline brass union on it." Okay. Now, I don't own any service trucks, but I promise you, one ain't going to roll out the lot without one of those on. And if it does show up and don't have one, and I got to go back to the shop to get the one, that's not on the customer. That's on me. So I ended up talking him down from $900 to $375. But this is one of those situations where you run into an absolute thief, a crook, a charlatan. Now, if you zoom all the way out, we've had this truck in our fleet since 2019. Yes. So this truck has been in our fleet for 5 years, and we've spent a lot of maintenance money on that truck in 5 years. Is the difference between what would have been a reasonable bill for the amount of time they had in it, for covering their margin on the part. The bill should have been $12 to $1,300. That's what it should have been if it was a reasonable bill. It was double that. So is $1,400 going to make a difference over the life of that truck? Absolutely not. It's not a make or break. It's not the truck can no longer haul freight anymore because we got $1,400 stolen from us by a crook. So yeah, there, and I probably, if I run into this again, I'm probably going to modify. I'm going to be like, listen, I know I'm going to start the conversation with, hey, brother, I know how much that part is because I've already called and I already know where it is and I know what the value of that product is. So let's decide now how much that product is worth. Because if you want to tell me that $440 starter is $930, we're going to end right here. And then I want that on paper. And that's possible. I see it up at Cam's. You know, they can create an estimate right on the little iPad and hit a button and it'll send it right to you. But I've also had guys show up with nothing but a paper receipt and a pencil and could barely write. They're not necessarily going to have the technology. So it's a crapshoot. But I can tell you also, because I want to make sure that we're taking care of the good guys that are out there. I've had a lot of really good, honest people show up on the side of the road to fix my truck. It's happened a lot that they haven't overcharged me, that they haven't shown
the
up.
thing to make this one so unbearable is the fact that this guy would refuse to admit that his quote mechanic didn't know how to do and was not embarrassed by the fact that we had to put our guys on the phone to teach this guy how to make this work. Not once was there any acknowledgement of the fact that this would never have happened, period, had we not helped the guy do his job, basically do it for him. But there was no acknowledgement of that. And that was what was frustrating. It's not exactly the price of the starter. It's just the fact that, we had to teach his guy how to do the job, and there was no accommodation to us for that,
And I know this, right? I was going to get my $1,400 in views, okay? Because there's been a bunch of them. This thing I made this thing last on TikTok for 5 days, okay? And there's probably, I don't know, 80, 90, 100,000 views on that. So I kind of got my pound of flesh there. But I also know this. Karma is a very mean and ugly bitch.
Mm-hmm.
And this old boy's going to get his someday. And I may never know that it got him, but I know I can sleep at night knowing that someday this mofo is going to get his. And I hope that when it happens, he's laying on the ground and he's bloody, figuratively, of course, and his life is just falling apart. Maybe he'll think, boy, if I wouldn't have screwed Dick on that starter, maybe I wouldn't be in this position. But karma's an ugly bitch.
And it may have already happened because one of our drivers was looking the guy up online and found in his
it said permanently closed.
It says permanently closed on the
here's what I think happened there. I think they marked the business permanently closed because there were a bunch of negative reviews left by the loyal lunatic army. And I think he marked it permanently closed so he could go in and delete a bunch of those reviews. Because a bunch of those reviews are now gone for Quality Fleet Services of Louisiana. That's Quality, Quality, Quality Fleet Services of Louisiana. Quality Fleet Services of Louisiana. This is one more time. In case y'all want to have a look, but it's like that guy with the boot, the $2,500 boot. I think he's in jail right now. So, I mean, when I saw the guy that owns the company that booted our bobtail for $2,500 in a place where the driver never should have been. Okay. And I told him, I said, how do I, when I called and I said, how do I pay this extortion fee? It's an extortion. Oh, yeah, it is. Well, he got arrested for being
an extortionist.
An extortionist.
Yeah.
So, you know, you will,
you reap what you sow.
And in business, that's the thing everybody needs to understand. It takes a while for you to reap the rewards. If you'll hang in there, if you'll do what's necessary, the rewards will come. But you can do anything for a short period of time. Man, you can go find the biggest, most beautiful Peterbilt you've ever seen, and you can go sign your name on it. They'll let you. They'll stick you in a room that you can't get out of, that's locked from the outside until you sign the contract that they won't ever let a lawyer look at. They will let you sign your name on that. You can go drive that brand new. You can smell that beautiful inside of that Peterbilt, and you can do it for a while. But eventually, it's going to catch up with you. I mean, hell, you can do heroin for a while, and cocaine, and cavort with, ladies of the night and all that kind of stuff. You can do all that, but eventually it's going to catch up to you. And so is the same when you are, when you're a dirtbag, eventually you're going to get it, and he's going to get it. I have no doubt. But if I can save one person from ever doing business with him, I will consider that a victory. Hasten to the Throne asks, hey, y'all, where's the lunatic shop located? Well, I'm going to use that as a segue, my friend. The shop is in Charleston, West Virginia. It's called Cam's Service Center. It's at 2209A, 6th Avenue, Charleston, West Virginia. And inside one of the
25187.
25387.
25387, sorry.
Inside one of those bays is Blue Ribbon Strategic Truck Solutions. Did I do that right?
No. Blue Ribbon Specialized Truck Services.
Shit.
You got the letters right, but you got the words wrong.
Okay, say it again. Blue Ribbon
Specialized Truck Services.
Truck Services.
And in there, we do MD alignments. We do diesel force cleaning. We do DPF alternatives filter cleaning. We install OPSs and all the other fuel modification products that we advocate here on our podcast. And Cam's, of course, does general repairs.
So I'm changing right now. I've made a change on the screen. And I've got to do something over here. Oh, there it is. I'll change this for TikTok so they can see it. So right now, what you're looking at on the screen is the Diesel Force cleaning tool that was delivered today. And we did it. We did our first truck today, and we were trained. And so you'll see there in the floor, you'll see different types of chemicals. So this is a multi-step process, but what it does is the step one is called the eliminator, and it turns this eliminator into a foam that goes through. It's connected to the EGR intake and exhaust, and it's going to run through all of your intake and your exhaust, and it's going to run this eliminator, and this eliminator is going to go through and remove any oil, coolant, fuel deposits as it goes through. And we're doing this while the engine is running. We fire the engine up, and as the engine runs, this foam is pumped in. And once that product is done, we fill it up with another product called the Diesel Force. I wish I could see that little, but I can't. System cleaning fluid. That's the big 2.5 gallon jug. And then that's going to run through, and I've got a video. It'll be on the TikTok, and I'll try to put it on a YouTube short as well. But and this stuff will find an exhaust leak that you didn't know you had because that foam is so thick. But on the DD15, there's a shaft for the EGR valve, and it always escapes around that shaft, and it'll kind of bubble out over out behind the turbo, and I saw it, and I'm like, hey, 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 and he's like, no, that's normal. But this stuff was black. I mean, it looked like black tar. Well, as that stuff continued to work, when we're standing around talking, it takes about an hour, and he goes, hey, come here, and he pointed at it, and it was white. You know, all of that black that was in that EGR valve and in that turbo, and all of those parts and pieces went from black to white. So once all the product is run through, then we back the truck outside and we do a force regen. And boy, she'll smoke like a freight train. So it takes about 45 minutes to do a parked regen, get everything really hot, burn off all of that, everything that we've just cleaned out. Once that's done, we pull the truck back in and we pour in 2 gallons of the synthetic oil system cleaner into the crankcase, and we run it for a minimum of 20 minutes. And what that's doing is going through the entire oil system. So it's hitting the rings, it's hitting the valves, it's hitting the valve springs, pistons, crank bearing, everything is being cleaned inside that engine. And so after we get done with that, we pop the drain plug out, dump all of that out, change the oil filter, put new oil in it, and you have a complete emission system from intake to exhaust all the way through that has been completely cleaned from the inside out. Now, we take it a step further, or we're going to highly recommend, in our relationship with DPF Alternatives, Chase Bryant and Ona, West Virginia, the only thing that the diesel force cleaning system will not do is remove ash. And the only way you're going to remove ash is to bake and clean those filters. So you got to think about this this is like a 300,000 mile service. 250 to 300,000 miles is when you want to do this. So in conjunction with doing the diesel force cleaning, we're going to pull those filters out and we're going to send those down to DPF Alternatives, and they're going to run those through their oven and get all of that ash out of there, and then put those filters back on. And now you're good for another 350,000 miles and have a completely clean emission system with which you can then, if you're not already, because you should be, begin using the max mileage catalyst from Pittsburgh Power to make sure that it stays clean. And probably if you religiously use that catalyst, you might even be able to push out your next diesel force cleaning and filter cleaning, because the max mileage keeps everything so clean. So that begins today. I do not yet have this on the website for scheduling. I'm going to work on that this weekend so that we can.
Now, a little history on this. You know, we've talked about this before. We just got our machine today. We have recommended to people in the past to fix their emissions problems on what we call Lunatic 2.0 trucks, you know, DD15s and stuff with emissions, to go take these to other shops. And we've recommended other shops to take these to, because we have found when we get these trucks and all the lights are on the dash and they're regenerating all the time, that if we clean them up, run the max mileage, and keep them clean, that we don't have those problems. And so this is just, we now have the ability to do that in our shop without having to refer you to other places.
Mm-hmm.
And, but we have proven to ourselves, and we'll prove to you, that if you keep that emission system clean, you won't have problems with it. And this will clean it up. If you buy a truck that's used and you don't know what's happened to it before, you know, do this. I mean, the first thing we do when we buy a truck with emissions is we take it to a shop and have this done. Then we run the catalyst, and then we eventually clean the DPF filters if they weren't done at the same time as the diesel force cleaning. That's 2 different operations, by the way. We just happen to have one close by, so we can do it all at the same time. But this is how we feel safe about buying these newer trucks and making them reliable, because we know we can get them cleaned up with this product and this technique. So that's what we're doing. And so it's one of our specialized services. We expect that there'll be a lot of interest in this from you guys that have these trucks with emission systems. You know, now you guys that are buying the older trucks probably don't have to worry about this. But you know, if you're running anything with one box, then this is going to make you a lot happier truck owner, for sure.
Mark, yes, this will work on anything really 2004 and up. Right now, we have the connections for a Series 60 Detroit and DD15. So if one of you has an X15 Cummins or a PACCAR or a Volvo, one phone call once your appointment is set up, and I'll have the fittings to do your truck. But the system is set up to be done on any truck. 5.9 Cummins, what's the 881 Cummins in the straight trucks. I mean, we're going to be able to do anything diesel, pickup trucks up to Class 8 trucks, to keep these things clean.
It is by appointment because we have to get the right connections for the engine that you have. Now we're going to always have the Detroit stuff because that's what we have here.
Right.
But anything else, we have to have an appointment because we got to have time to get those connections shipped into us so that we're ready to do your truck. And it takes a while to do this thing. So it's hard to do this thing on demand. You kind of have to know you're coming because you're going to tie up a bay for several hours, and it makes a huge, like you said, it smokes you out of the shop. So
yeah,
it's you have to kind of plan on it being there because it's going to shut the shop down for a couple hours when we do it. So
yeah,
it is by appointment.
And so once we've got once we've got it set up, you'll be able to schedule an appointment on our website, just like you could do for an OPS or an MD alignment. You can set this appointment up. Then we'll have everything there for you when you get there.
Right.
If you're going to do the combo deal, which we highly recommend, where we take, once we're done with the cleaning, we'll take the filters or the box. If it's Freightliner, we'll take the filters out. If it's like a Peterbilt, we'll just take the whole box off and send it down overnight. The turnaround time, if we get it off by, I think it's 2:30, they will have the filters back the next day. So, plan on, if you want to do the whole thing, plan on 2 days. Come in, we'll do the cleaning, we'll get the filters out, we'll send them down to ONA. Chase and those guys will clean them up, send them back, get it put back together. So you're probably looking a little more than 24 hours turn to do the whole thing.
And if you use the catalyst, which we highly recommend you do, that DPF cleaning is guaranteed.
Yep.
For life.
Yep.
You never have to pay for that cleaning again if you use the catalyst. So I'm talking about the DPF filter cleaning. Now the diesel force cleaning is every 250, 300,000 mile maintenance item, but the DPF cleaning, you only have to do that once if you use a catalyst.
That's the thing. And the other thing that you can't see until you take the filters out is the condition of your filter. There's a guy on TikTok, I think he's called DPF Guy, has a lot of really good informational video on what you can see. Because sometimes these emission systems can self-destruct. And it's wild what you will see, that the filters will literally melt. Well, if we do a good cleaning and the cleaning doesn't fail, because of some major issue inside the emission system, it will be good to get those filters out and be able to look at the inside of your one box and look at the condition of the filters. So, this is going to get you every couple of years where you can go and make sure that everything is staying clean and everything is doing well and doing what it's supposed to. Clarence, we will be able to do Volvos. We don't have the fittings right now. But if you schedule one, I'll order the fittings and have them waiting for.
The only problem with the Volvo is that Volvo will not release the software for us to check it with the iPad. That's the only problem with the Volvo.
That's what we've been told. I haven't confirmed that for myself, but I've been told that there's some kind of issue. But I know that Volvos come into the shop and we're able to diagnose them. So I don't. That may not be a problem. I think that might have been a problem for that one shop that we were talking to. That particular shop didn't have the ability to do Volvos because they didn't have the software. But we've got laptops and stuff that we can do work on Volvo. So I don't think that'll be an issue. So I mean, we're happy. We're really excited to have these opportunities now to do these kinds of services that are preventative. You know, we're not coming to you in the middle of your crisis. We're trying to prevent your crisis from ever happening. And these, like we said before, all of these products are things that we have used for years and we've done. The first time that we had a diesel force cleaning done was on a 16 model Cascadia. A BCO was driving it. He wanted us to manage it. We brought it in, and oh my God, the whole dash was lit up yellow. We took it to a shop in Ohio. They cleaned it out, changed a couple of sensors, and the entire rest of the time that we operated that truck, no issues. We ran the catalyst, and didn't have any more problems. So the cost of this, I guess we'll hit this because I know we'll get this. Right, and there it is. It is a standard cost, or does it vary from truck to truck? No, it's a standard cost, $1,850 plus an oil change. So it's $1,850, and you have to change the oil because you're pouring the synthetic oil system cleaner in your oil, and you can't leave that in there and run the truck. We run the truck
plus the cost of cleaning the DPF filters at
Right.
DPF Alternatives,
which I believe is $900. I think it's $450 per. Now that part differs a little bit because I know, you know, like on the PACCARs and the Cummins, their setup is a little different. But I think it's around $900 to have the filters cleaned. So, but the cost for the service is $1,850 plus the cost of your oil and a filter for your truck. So that's where you're going to be at.
and there may be occasionally a need to replace a sensor because this high density foam goes through all of the little galleys and stuff, and so sometimes some of these sensors don't like having that foam in them, and they tend not to want to communicate with ECM very well. So there may be an occasion where we have to replace a sensor or two that you need to be aware of as well. You really don't know till you do it, but have we have kind of a commonality there? Sensor that we replace about every time when we've done them.
Well, we've only done it once, and we didn't have to. I've heard stories, and the guy that was telling me today that, like on a Cummins, there's one sensor that you want to unplug before you do the cleaning, do the regen and everything, and once you're done, plug that sensor back in. I think may have been a knock sensor.
Okay.
Zach Davis on TikTok says, so the full service is roughly $3,250. No, the service will be $1,850. The filters will be around $900. That's $2,750. And then 10 gallons of oil and a filter, I don't think should be $500. I would certainly hope.
Unless it's full synthetic.
Yeah. I mean, even then it might get to 10 gallons even our synthetic we're getting for $20, $26, $28. So, if you're just running 1540, it'd be, $150 for fuel or for oil plus a filter. What payment method do we accept? All of them. Probably a little premature to accept Bitcoin, but cash, check, com check, EFS, we can handle all of it.
We will not take your firstborn or your wife. Other than that, we're pretty open.
We also will not accept a Haktua. Those are off the table. God, isn't it amazing how stuff goes viral on the internet and just the strangest thing can happen, and just the entire world is obsessed with. There's t-shirts and there's hats, and it's amazing. Have y'all ever had a roadside emissions inspection? Somebody recently, I don't remember who it was, got checked in New Jersey. On the East Coast, generally the only one you ever have to worry about is New Jersey.
Yeah, I remember that. Was it Evan? Maybe
it was somebody. Zelle or Cash App. We'll take Zelle or Cash App. Do you accept? Richie wants to know, do you accept? It's ACCEPT, Florida man. Do you accept mayonnaise as payment? Zach says, "Get the schedule ready. I've got 10 ready to head to you coming out of Parkersburg." Well, Lord have mercy. Well, bring them on. Just let me get the website set up. Evan. Jared said it was Evan in Virginia that got.
I thought it was Evan. Yeah, yeah.
So, I mean,
I'm going to address this one, but I'm not going to let him do what he thinks he's going to do. Rick Ryan, why don't you have your own authority? Why Landstar?
Oh,
well, you're asking that question because obviously you have some problem with Landstar because you've heard that they take 35% of your money. Here's what I'm going to tell you, Mr. Ryan. We have 208 other episodes, and most of them address this. So rather than take up everybody else's time and re-explain this, we're going to just let you go find your answer yourself.
I will take a moment for anybody that's just wondering by, because we kind of have a dedicated following on YouTube. TikTok is a little more Wild West. There's more people that will occasionally bump into us on TikTok. But I can answer that question simply. Why don't you have your own authority? Why Landstar? Risk management. 2 words. Risk management. We don't have a revenue problem hauling for Landstar. We don't have cost problems running for Landstar. Everything is cheaper. There's no other way that we could get tires and fuel and insurance cheaper than we can get it through Landstar. Our revenue numbers are fantastic. We've already hit $1 million, I think, this year, or dangerously close to it. Our average rate per mile, let me consult the book of knowledge real quick. Our average loaded rate per mile for the year is $3.27. In a market where people are in the open market, people are struggling for $2, and we're at $3.27. So we don't have a revenue problem. The risk management, though, that we have at Landstar versus a single truck owner operator with his own authority, the risk profile of that single truck owner operator is enormous. Now, y'all can ignore that all you want to, but like we were talking about karma coming around, and it's not to say that it can't be done, that it's impossible. It's possible for you to go get your own authority and make it 6 months. You could make it a year. You could make it 10 years. What we're trying to, and remember, our audience or our target audience is the first time owner operator buying their first truck. And I will say with absolute confidence that a new first time owner operator buying their first truck that has never been in business before absolutely has no business buying or getting their own authority. The chances of failure are absolutely astronomical. If your heart is set on owning your own truck and being in business, I will not discourage you from that. But you better find a way to do it where you have the most amount of risk protection, and that's going to be leased to a carrier. Now, if you someday want to spread your wings and fly and get your own authority, more power to you. But you better go lease to a carrier for at least a year or two so that you can learn how to be in business. And listen, we have mentoring clients that people come to us and are like, we want to do your mentoring. Okay, great. Show me your books. What? Well, what's your fuel cost? Oh, I don't know. What's your maintenance cost? Oh, I don't know. How do you book loads? Oh, that's easy. I pick loads that are only $3 a mile and above. In a $2 market, you're only going to haul loads that pay north of $3 a mile, but you don't know what your fuel cost is. You don't know what your tire cost is. You don't know what percentage of anything is. You have absolutely no.
Well, they think that, but if they only pick loads at $3 a mile, then they won't have to know those other things. So it's just a lazy way of running your business. If I get enough money up front, I don't have to worry about what I spend. We literally have heard that.
Oh yeah, I mean I've heard it all. So the problem becomes, and someone said, OJ, what type of risk are you talking about? The risk of an engine failure, the risk of an insurance claim, the risk of something coming along, a dispute, right? I've had to deal with disputes at Landstar. I think 4 times. I have been hauled before the tribunal by some pissed off agent. And they always show up unarmed with their feelings hurt. And I show up with a slew of information. I've got emails and text messages and dates and times. And every single time that an agent has been upset with me and
the risk though is this: our cost per mile is lower because we're at Landstar, not higher, and the risk is lowered because we make more money on every mile we drive. That's the risk we're talking about.
Clear Logistics Training on YouTube says, take it from someone who has their own authority. I spend far more than 35% on all the things that Landstar already provides.
There you go.
And remember, I want everybody to be clear. Landstar's not taking 35% of your money. Landstar's giving you 65% of theirs. It's not your money.
It's actually more like 72%, but
yeah,
we'll go with that. By the way, we're at 1,070,000, just to update you.
Okay. Here's the problem too. When you don't have any real accounting, you're in business. And this doesn't matter if you're in trucking, construction, real estate, doesn't matter. You're in business and you don't have proper accounting. When something goes wrong, you have nothing to study. You have no data. You have nothing to identify what the problem was. Was my fuel too high? Was my maintenance too high? Was my personal spending too high? Was my insurance too high? You don't have any idea, except I can find a scapegoat. I can blame Joe Biden. I can blame Donald Trump.
I can blame Landstar. Yeah.
I can blame Landstar. I can blame the brokers. I can always find a scapegoat that will transfer responsibility away from me. Okay. So if you're in business now, if you have ever been in business and your business has failed, walk into the bathroom, look in the mirror, and you will find the source of your business's failure. It's your fault. There's nobody else to blame, because it can't be like somebody went on a tirade about Trump. And I said, well, my business failed while Donald Trump was in office, but he didn't have anything to do with me. That was me. You know, when my business failed in April of 2017, it didn't have anything to do with Donald Trump. It had everything to do with me. Donald Trump didn't make the decisions that I made. Donald Trump didn't spend too much money. Donald Trump didn't save any money. That was me. And it wasn't Congress, and it wasn't Landstar, and it wasn't agents. It was me. I was the problem. Scapegoating some mystical force into being the problem. And of course, now it's Biden. Everything's Biden's fault. Oh, Biden. Biden don't know where he's at. How can he be? How can he be to blame? Poor thing don't even know his own name, much less yours. So, business is hard, y'all. It's hard. It's worth it. That's what we always say. It's worth it, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever do. It can be the most wonderful thing that you've ever done, and it can take you to heights that being an employee will never do. But you cannot go into it thinking that it's going to be easy. You know, if you're in trucking, for example, and you don't like being gone and you don't like being in the truck, well, Lord have mercy, don't buy one, because that's all you're going to do is live in that truck for a period of time until you've built your business up and turned it into something that can stand on its own without you actually doing the work. But a bunch of y'all work for free. You won't even pay yourself a salary. And then you come up with this nonsense about, hey, you're making all this money. No, the business is making money. You're broke. You're broke and you don't have two nickels to rub together. And then you're going to find out the first engine failure or differential failure or transmission failure or accident, you know. I mean, y'all see every day, you know, somebody's just minding their own business and some dude comes along wearing flip-flops that runs over the back of the trailer and completely destroys your truck, and your entire way of making a living is gone in an instant, burned to the ground. You escaped, you know, with your hair singed, and it's over. What are you going to do now? Start over.
Kyle, we have an entire platform division. So yes, we do have some of our drivers that drive open deck, mainly flats. We don't really. I don't think we run any steps right now.
OJ on TikTok asked, "Do you have a course on how to run a business?" Matter of fact, we do. If you'll go to blueribbonlogistics.com, right there on the front page, there is a masterclass, and it tells all about it. It's an 18-month program where you come and drive one of our trucks on a W-2, and we will teach you every day for 18 months. Now, you're not going to sit in a classroom. The classroom has a steering wheel.
It's called on-the-job training.
It's on-the-job training. But we're going to show you little by little every day. You're going to make a lot of really stupid, silly mistakes, and you're going to learn that all of those mistakes have some sort of financial consequence. And then you'll either stop making those mistakes or you'll leave, right? And you'll figure out that this ain't for you. But it's immersion. It's 18 months of immersion into seeing how the sausage is made in the sausage factory. And sometimes it's ugly. And lots of times it's stressful. And lots of times it's hard, because we're in such a different position here as employers. We are employers, right? We have a payroll and we have all these responsibilities. But if we were just a normal trucking company, well, man, we would be trying to get the best trucks to attract the best drivers, and we would be very, very focused on meeting the needs of truck drivers. Well, that's not what we're about. I don't seek to meet the needs of truck drivers. Matter of fact, I try to do the exact opposite, because I want business people. And so if you have the mindset of a truck driver and you're going to come in and whine about stuff that I don't care about, you're going to hate me.
And that you shouldn't be caring about either.
You're going to hate me, and I'm going to sleep like a baby, knowing and understanding that you hate me, because that's kind of my job. What was it? Somebody the other day said that I was a bully. I lectured him and I was a bully. And Larry said, I pay him to do that. That I made him that way.
Taught him everything he knows.
Yeah. Yeah. He taught me how to be the insufferable bastard that I am today.
Yeah. We have a class on that too, becoming an asshole.
Yeah. I mean, I have a whole roll of wax paper to put on the seat to keep your candy ass from sticking to it. Because sometimes I have to shake you out. Hey, you're here to learn how to be in business, not how to be.
You have to understand there are some premises that we have to make sure you understand. The majority of people who go into business fail. Well over 50% of all businesses fail. In trucking, that number jumps up to about 90%. And so that's what we have to avoid here, is you becoming that statistic. But in order to not be that statistic, you have to understand that you have to change. No one's born with the understanding of how to run a business. That doesn't come out of the birth canal with you. That's an acquired knowledge. It's acquired through experience. Thus, that's why it takes 18 months to do it, because it's not just the knowledge, it's the experience that you're getting here. And we have a wide panel of skill sets here. I've been in business 50 years. Chris has been in trucking 27 years. Phil has been in platform for a number of years. We have people that have lots of experience here that we garner together and call that our management group, our coaching staff. And we're here to allow you to pick our brains and to be curious and ask the questions and learn whatever you want to learn while you're here. But it's an interactive thing, and it's on you to do the learning. We don't have diplomas and certificates and graduation gowns. You leave here, you leave with the knowledge that you asked for while you were here. Not that we sit you in this classroom and feed you all this information. That's not how our program works. Now we have a new thing we're getting ready to start working on that is going to be online based, where if you already own a truck and you want our counseling, our coaching, our mentoring, Chris's dispatching, then you can join this group, and we will put the information online, and then you will have a private live with us every week or so that we'll do some interaction with you one-on-one. We're working on that right now. We'll have some announcements coming up on that probably next week. But that will be an alternative to coming and drive one of our trucks, but you have to already own your own truck to be in that program. So it's more of a mentoring program as opposed to the apprenticeship that we do when you come here. The immersion is here. The best way to learn this is to come here and do it. But we also can teach you, but you have to understand that, it's one thing to come and ask for our help. It's another thing to ignore it. And if you come here and you want to know how we do things, and then you ignore everything we tell you to do, then there's no reason for you to do that.
Yeah.
But the thing you have to understand is that the biggest thing that has to happen is that you have to change. And if you're not willing to change, you're probably not going to be successful in business, and you certainly won't be successful here.
I found this image. TikTok, y'all won't be able to see this, but I'll describe it to you for those of you on the audio. It's a circle. It's a picture of the universe. And there's a little tiny sliver at the top, and it says "shit you know." And there's a little slightly larger picture of little slice of this pie chart that says shit you know you don't know. And then the whole rest of the image is the shit that you don't know that you don't know. And that's a big part of what we do here, is trying to show y'all all the stuff that you think you know. You think you are convinced that you know. But the reality is you don't have a clue. And we have to give you a clue. And sometimes when we give you a clue, it comes with like a baseball bat. Because we got to get through somehow. Because you'll make decisions that were completely reasonable when you're a company driver. Completely reasonable. Because you have the mindset, outlook, and mentality of an employee, right? And employees have different ways of looking at things than business owners do. Well, you'll come into this situation where we're talking about business, and you will make a decision that was completely reasonable to a company driver. We'll be like, "Hey, buddy, what are you doing? What you doing over there?" "Oh, well, I was just doing it like I've always done it." And how'd that work out for you? Well, it didn't. I just ran into consequences. Yeah. Big consequences, and consequences in business come with a price tag, right? So, that's what that's the Mr. Miyagi Karate Kid thing,
And remember, this was easy to do. There would be no failures. Okay, the fact that there's a extra high failure rate indicates how difficult this is to do. So if you're not willing to accept a challenge and meet the challenge, you're never going to be successful in business. It requires you to make changes. If it didn't, everybody would be successful. There wouldn't be this failure rate.
Yeah.
But because there is a failure rate, you have to understand there's a reason for that. And it's not complicated. It just requires hard work. And it requires you to step up to the challenge.
Archangel has a question on YouTube that I don't understand. Would that help me get my truck fixed? Would I be able to run on your numbers? That Archangel, you're going to have to explain your question a little more. Barbara's in the house. Hey, buddy. Barb. Okay, let's talk about Barb for a minute.
Yeah.
Barb had, one hell of a load booked for the weekend. Big money. And then it canceled. Well, instead of throwing a fit, whining and complaining, she got her hustle on at, what was it, 4:00, and booked another load. Now, did it suck? Oh yeah, it was one half of the rate that she just had. It was like right here in her hand and went yank, gone. She booked another load, right? Because when that happens in business, and the rug gets yanked from under you and no fault of your own. I don't think. We'll find out. I'm sure Phil will tell me if it was Barb's fault that load canceled. But it didn't matter. It's gone. It's gone. It's over with. There's nothing you can do about it except stand back up, get on the board, got to find a load, find it, book it, load it, haul ass.
What she didn't do was get on Facebook and blame the agent and blame Landstar and whine and piss and moan.
Yeah.
You know, she took corrective action, and I guess she salvaged her week.
Yep. Yep. Did I put that in? I may have not put that on the board yet. But it was, it was still, I'm gonna look at that because let's see, 23.
Chris, read this question from Archangel about that you're asking about. I don't see the question at all. Can you read it to me?
It's on YouTube. Hang on a minute. Come on. Okay. She had a load fall apart and replaced it at the last minute, booked it at 17:24. So at the end of the day, she booked a load and still has an $8,500 week. Now, would she have rather had a $9,500 week? Of course she would. We would all much rather her had a $9,500 week, but she's going to have to settle for $8,500 in revenue in a market where people are dropping like flies. I addressed the Archangel thing. I don't understand the question. They're going to have to make more sense out of that before we can do anything with it. Mark says it's pretty awesome what you guys do over at Blue Ribbon. I hope the best for you guys, and I'll be by to get my truck service. Well, we're looking forward. Archangel's asking about the mentorship. I don't know anything about getting your truck fixed. Would that help me get my truck fixed? It would help you make money, I guess, to pay to get your truck fixed.
It might even teach you how to fix it. I don't know. I don't understand the question either, but teaching you how to be successful in business, I guess, will help you get your truck fixed, but I don't know what your truck needs. It'll help you get you fixed. I can tell you that.
Yeah.
And then you can get the truck fixed. Yeah.
We do have such an interesting opportunity now in this shop because, when you're in the program, I can't say this as much about the just average customer, but when you're in our program, you get to see how the decisions are made. You can walk right alongside me in the shop, me and Kyle, and you can see how a well end is taken apart and properly, keyword properly, put back together. You can see all that stuff, and we can break it down for you. And so over time, you're going to get to see a lot of things that you would never see most of the time, which I watched a guy today, okay, who had an opportunity to learn something and decided to go sit in the waiting room. And he's an owner operator. He wasn't a company driver. He was an owner operator that had an opportunity to ask questions, to see what was happening. And he was like, yeah, no, I'm just going to sit in here and play video games on my phone while y'all are out there working. Missed a huge opportunity that he could have He could have learned a lot, but he chose not to. Y'all missed a comment from Archangel. Okay, well, let me go back. Y'all missed a comment. Well, let me go back through here. Sometimes they come fast and furious. Ah, I found it. I have a 2015 Cascadia 125 as a DD15. It has a questionable oil filter bypass valve, and there is something about an oil pickup tube. Can you fix it? Oh, okay.
We know all about that.
Okay. So what you're probably most likely talking about is on the DD15 in the oil pan, it has plastic pickup tubes with O-rings. Now, 2015, you're probably coming up on 900, maybe over 1,000,000 miles. And what will happen over time is those pickup tubes will get brittle and those O-rings will wear out. And it's like if you got a soda pop and you got the straw in it and the straw's got a hole in it and you're trying to suck the fluid up there and it's not coming. It's because there's holes in that thing in the oil pan is coming apart, and it can lock up your engine. Okay. And do it quickly. If you have this problem, and we've seen it at the shop. I mean, but I remember Chris was telling me about a year ago, a guy called and said, "Hey man, I'm having this low oil pressure thing." And they were like, "Yeah, probably." And before he got to the shop, it locked up. So if you are having that problem, do not pass go. Straight to somebody that can replace that oil pan. I don't know if you have to do the whole pan, but you have to do everything inside the pan. You have to replace all that stuff, or you're going to lose oil pressure and you're going to lock up that motor. And that's a $30,000 engine, by the way. But yes, we can fix it. Can you get it here is the big question. The last time we did it, I think it was about, I don't know, was it like $5,600 to do that. And while they were in there, they just rolled all new main and rod bearings in while they were there. So, Richard McKenna, my DD15 just locked up from the tubes. It's a real thing.
We see it often, and people that work on these motors warn us of it. You know,
there's Steve Best. Get behind me, devil. He's asking if we got a starter he can buy. The DD15 is a great engine. If it wasn't for emissions, I would say the DD15 is the greatest engine ever built because it really is fantastic. However, the minute that you start to begin to see lower oil pressures, get it to the shop immediately. And we're hearing anywhere from 750 to 950. I've got one that's creeping up on 900,000 miles right now. And I grabbed the driver today and I shook him violently. And I'm like, you watch that oil pressure like your life depending on it. Cause it's a real thing.
the problem with that is when you notice the oil pressure drop, it's almost too late.
Yeah. Well, I think you can start to see it, it'll start to fluctuate. And, but yeah, you need to get that thing into a shop immediately. Because you can fix it for between 5,000 and 7,000 and probably,
or you can fix it for 30,000,
or you can fix it for 30. And that's a big swing, y'all. Very large swing. Richard says his happened at once from 60 PSI to 0.
We've heard that before.
Yeah, I guess if it breaks, but we've talked so much about Lunatic 1.0 trucks, Lunatic 2.0 trucks, and the Lunatic 2.0 trucks. We have these other issues that don't exist with pre-2007 trucks, and this is one of them, right? You know that if you're buying a Cascadia with 500,000 miles, that within a couple of years you're going to have to spend this money. You don't have to do an $1,850 diesel force cleaning on a Series 60. You can. We have the parts and the fittings to do it, but it's not absolutely necessary like it is on the DD15s. So Um, Mini Me 661 said, you guys should write a book about the issues you've seen with each of the motor manufacturers. Sell like crazy. Yeah, or I'd end up with concrete shoes, and the Cummins and Detroit people would throw me in the river. I mean, it's been a hell of a ride. I mean, I've seen things that I went, I never would have dreamed that would happen, you know. But yet here we are. So is that a complete overhaul when that happens? Yes.
Mm.
And if it spins a bearing,
Yeah.
it's over.
It's a crate engine.
It's a boat anchor if it spins a bearing. And that's usually what happens is it will, it don't take long, you know, at 1,800 or 1,600 RPMs with zero oil pressure to turn that motor into a boat anchor. And so you're talking about buying a crate engine for 30 grand plus the labor to put it in.
Is it true the EPA is coming for the non-emission trucks?
Oh, they're going to try. They're going to try.
They're also going to ban TikTok. Remember?
Right. Listen, y'all. If you'll ever understand anything that I say, understand this: if the United States government, or any state government for that matter, was truly as powerful as they thought they were, we'd be in real trouble. But fortunately, the market moves faster than the government. The government is always lagging behind the ingenuity and the creativity of the free market. Is the oil pickup line still a problem on the newest DD15s? Yes, I believe everything. It's basically the same. The newer ones just haven't got to 900,000 yet.
You know, the EPA is coming for your old trucks is another way of trying to convince you to do things via the mainstream. Okay, this industry needs you to be mainstream because they need you to fail.
Mm-hmm.
So stop worrying about things that aren't going to happen. Stop believing everything you hear. Okay, they're not banning TikTok either, by the way.
No. Yeah. So I mean, it's just a thing, you know. And so if you love, it's like back in the day when you used to listen to Kevin all the time, and people would call Kevin and be like, you know, well, how do I find a truck and what am I looking for? And one of the best things he ever said is all of these procedures that he would have for looking at a truck. I'm looking for a reason to not buy the truck. I'm not looking for a reason to buy the truck. I'm looking for a reason not to buy the truck. I'm looking for a major red flag. Okay. So in 2024, if we're looking at a 4-year-old truck, we're looking at a 2020. Okay. Well, if a truck runs 120,000 miles a year in 4 years, it's going to have somewhere around 500,000 miles on it. Which means if you pick one up with 500,000 miles, right now you could probably get it for 25 grand. You're going to be able to run it a year or two, and you're going to have to spend this money. So that better be in your mind. Okay, well, there's a great deal on this truck. I can get this truck for $25,000. Great, awesome. You better start today saving whatever money every day you're going to get, because in a year or two, you're going to have to spend that $7,000 or whatever it is to do that bottom end. You know, it's just coming. It's going to happen. So that's just part of the deal. And you have to be able to project that out. I feel like so many owner operators just driving down the road like this going, well, I just hope nothing bad happens. And then boom, you know,
hope is not a plan.
Yeah. Hope is not a plan.
I need to Face Shutter. I need to teach you something here. Forget brand names like Goodyear and Michelin. Michelin makes a very good tire. They make the worst tire that we've ever seen either. So you can't go by brand names. The model number, the composition of that model number compared to the other ones via a number called rolling resistance is the only way that you measure that tire's value. The fact that it's Goodyear or Bridgestone or who's the other one that Yokohama's. I mean, they all have different model tires, and some of them are better than others. Michelin has a great tire. It also has the worst tire we've ever seen. So you can't. It's a little more difficult than just going out and picking a brand. That's
Now,
not really what.
I can answer that question specifically. The Goodyears are garbage, and they don't make them anymore. So if that should tell you all you need to know. We bought 2 sets of them. And I mean, you could watch the rubber flying off of them going down the road. They're terrible. And the reason we bought the first set was because we ran into this really great salesman. That's about all he was in Memphis. We went to BCO days, and he just went on about all
It's because they had some kind of
it was like run flat kind of.
Yeah, that's what. And we were able to monitor them remotely or something. That's kind of why we were interested in them. But again, it wasn't anything because of the Goodyear name. It's just that's what it was, and then it turned out to be junk.
Oh, garbage.
But again, I would not categorically say the Goodyear tire is not as good. You just need to look at it, see what the construction is, see what the rolling resistance is, and just do a little of your homework. Because I mean, I don't know. We don't build tires. I can look at the specs though and tell you if it's something we're interested in.
I remember that time that Tony Stewart got out of his car and said it was those piece of junk Goodyear tires.
Yeah.
And look, I don't want to hate on Goodyear, but I've personally
you can't hate on Goodyear NASCAR. Goodyear, Gatorade, and God are the triumvirate. Okay.
So years ago, I had this idiot friend of mine taught me into going to this used tire place. It was called Po Boys. And they had a deal where they were selling, no. The State Trooper Cruisers, the Crown Vics, came with brand new Goodyears on them. Well, at 20,000 miles, they would change them. And this Po Boys had a deal with the state. And so you could go in there and buy these 20,000 mile Goodyear, whatever they were called, tires that came off these state police cruisers. And everybody's like, man, look at this deal. Well, I put a set of them on my Thunderbird, and I figured out real quick when I was driving in the rain, it did 360s, and it's 70 miles an hour on the damn interstate because they just weren't touching the ground. And I figured out why they were taking them off all the state trooper cars and selling them to morons like me for $25 a piece. So I have no good experience with Goodyear, but I have great experiences with Michelin's. So there's a Toyo tire, I guess now. They've entered the chat when it comes to fuel efficient tires, but I don't know anybody.
There's also a Double Coin.
They have not entered the chat. You should have seen the look on that dude's face. I think that was 2 truck shows ago. We were walking by the Double Coin booth, and the guy kind of steps out. You know how they do that? They'll step out in front of you, try to get you to conversate with them. And I saw this freight train coming a mile away, right? He didn't see what was getting ready to hit him. And so Larry starts asking him about, fuel mileage and tire construction and low rolling resistance. And that guy just stood there slack jaw, just, he's trying to flip through. But he was looking for Al Capone's vault in this, in this brochure. It wasn't there, right? It just, you could not find any of this information that Larry was trying to get him.
He was trying to find a way to get to disengage.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. Now everybody's going to tell us what kind of tires they run.
Yeah, I don't give a shit.
Guys. It brand means nothing to me. Okay, I could care less what brand tires you run. We didn't pick ours because of the brand. We picked ours because of the experience that we have with them, and and the testing that we did.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I got 5 million miles of data on tires, oil analysis. I mean, you're if you want to start debating me on tires and oil analysis and why I should throw good oil away at 15,000 miles. You're coming to a gunfight with a pocket knife, because I'm gonna slap you across the face with 5 million miles of tracked data on multiple trucks, of how oh, you have to change your oil, your motor's going to lock up. Well, then why the trucks right now that have let me see, where's my magic spreadsheet? Oh, I gotta open it up. Let's go here to the maintenance spreadsheet, because I got a spreadsheet for everything. I got a spreadsheet to keep up with my spreadsheets. Let's see. Here's one, fluid time. Here's one running with 170,000 miles since an oil change. Here's 75,000 miles, 163,000 miles. Jared's truck has been 163,000 miles since the oil was changed, and 234,000 miles on that engine since it was in framed. Which ones do we specifically run? I assume you're talking about. We run they changed the damn number on it.
X1 Line Energy.
No, LED 2. I don't know why they have to change the stinking number all the time. We ran the Michelin 445. No, 445 50 22.5 Michelin Line-X Energy LED 2. And we run the 275 80 22.5 Michelin X-Line Energy Steer.
X-Line Z.
Yeah, well, they've changed that too. And we have a truck that has a set of Yokohama. I can't think of the number right now. It's in a folder. Let's see. Let me go into Dropbox and find that truck. That truck was last year. We put those tires on. Let's go to the maintenance folder. Go to 2023. Tire hub. No, that's not it. Maybe it was early 2024. Yep, there it is. It was January. Where's it at? And it doesn't say. Oh, 709L. That's the Yokohama 709L ultra wide base. So those tires were put on in January of 24. So they're 6 months old. They're on a truck that was in the shop yesterday, and they look fantastic. And the fuel mileage on that truck is great. So, and like I said, we bought we bought 2 sets of Goodyears, and those were garbage. And we had to buy, because what you have to watch for with the Michelin is you'll call TA or Pilot or whoever. Hey, do you have a 445 50 22.5 X-Line Energy LED 2? Oh yeah. And then I'll say, not grips. Oh no, we don't have those. Because they'll try to sell you the grip. Well, the grip is a much higher rolling resistance than the LED 2. And so you have to watch for that, because they think they're the same. They see X-Line Energy on the side of the tire, and they think, oh, that's an energy tire. No, there's a huge difference between a grip and an LED 2. Now, we had a truck that we bought one time, bought it sight unseen, because it showed up as having a direct drive 10 speed with 279s. And we're like, this is perfect. Old Schneider truck. And did not realize until I pulled out of the driveway with it and I looked at the tachometer, rut row, somebody changed the drive axle or the differential gears to something that wasn't a 279. And so we put a 455 50 22.5 grip on it to increase the diameter.
We needed 1 inch more of outside diameter. That's the only tire that they made that was 1 inch bigger with the grip.
Now, I wish Rocky was on here, because someone called Rolling Fog says, I had a set of X-Line steers and only got a year out of them. Well, if you do not have a properly aligned truck, meaning it has been fully inspected and aligned by an MD alignment shop, It don't matter. You could put X lines on them. You could put double coins on it. You could put Firestones on it.
If you don't keep your truck lined up and maintain your tires, it doesn't care. It doesn't matter what you put on there. You're going to ruin them all.
And I'm not talking about going to the TA where the single-celled organism puts it up on turn plates and, hey, it's in the green. It's green. See, it's green. That's not an alignment.
The tires didn't do that to themselves. Your truck did that to those tires.
There he is. Rocky said, the reason you got a year out of those tires because your line sucks.
Yeah. Exactly.
Listen, and years ago, and I never knew this, or at least I was convinced of it at the time. It was just 25 years ago. We had a truck in the fleet that would destroy a set of steer tires in 50,000 miles. Just run them off. And someone told the boss, he said, are you greasing that fifth wheel? And they put another set of tires on. It was a classic Freightliner. And the dude was like, I want this thing greased like once a week. And so I did it. And it wildly increased. Now, I'm sure, knowing what I know now versus 25 years ago, that the alignment probably wasn't good on that truck. But I can tell you this, that fifth wheel grease made a huge difference. Because when that fifth wheel is pushing you down the road and it won't articulate, that'll destroy your tires. You have to properly grease your truck. And unfortunately, as I found out the hard way, when I started working on our trucks, I know we were going every 12,000 miles to TA or Pilot or Speedco or whatever and have the trucks greased. And I'm going, these things are dry. They're dry as a desert. They're not doing it. So, and these Milwaukee 18 volt grease guns now, y'all, they're number one. You need to buy one. If you own a truck, just go get you a couple tubes of grease and get under there once a month and grease everything. How often do you do an alignment on each truck? Whenever it needs it. Again, we're going to do it based on
it depends on where you're driving and how often you bump curbs and whatnot. I aligned my truck one time, and I checked it a couple of times after that, and I never realigned again. That truck now has 1.8 million miles on it. So the alignment that I put on it way back when is still on that truck. So, I mean, it just depends on how you treat it and where you drive it. And, if you run in potholes and run over curbs and things like that, it stays in alignment until you knock it out.
Yep. Or until you have wear, if your bushings wear out or you're,
right.
You start to have wear, it's going to change your alignment. That's why, we had our very first alignment that we did, we ended up not doing because the truck needed kingpins, tie rods, bearings, and bushings and torque rods. There was no way, if we would have put the lasers on that truck, we would have been stealing from that customer because it was
if you just walk out in front of your truck and rub your hand across the tires, you'll tell if it needs an alignment or not. It'll tell you right away.
And as we've seen, when you put the wrong size tire on a set of duals, it'll take 4 days.
Yeah.
and that $500 or $600 tire is gone. Let me take this opportunity to talk about Pittsburgh Power.
And the shop is up and running, by the way. Whoever asked that question, we are up and running.
Yeah. Pittsburgh Power is our sponsor. We are stocking distributors. We have Max Mileage, we have OPS Supplies, and we have Flashpoint in stock at the shop in Charleston. All you have to do is go on the website, blueribbonlogistics.com, go to the store, put in your order. If you want to stop by the shop and pick it up, we can ship it to you. But if you're coming through Charleston, we're real easy to get to, right off the interstate. We're just a couple miles off of I-64 there in Charleston. You can swing by. There's plenty of room for a truck and trailer. You can come by and pick up OPS supplies. We've got sample kits, filters, Max Mileage, dispenser bottles, Flashpoint. We have all that stuff there for you to pick up. And
if while you're there, if you need alignment, we do MD alignments there.
Yeah.
If you got a truck with emissions, we do diesel force cleaning there. Of course, Cam's is a full service shop, and they're open basically 24/7.
Yeah. But Pittsburgh
So,
Power, we've had a long relationship with them, all the way back to 2009 when you
mhm,
started.
mhm,
So with all these products, especially OPS, that's been our longest running
mhm.
relationship. But Fleet Air Filter and all these people, we recommended these products because we use them. And so we're glad to have Pittsburgh Power as friends and sponsors. So if y'all talk to them, let them know you heard about them on the Blue Ribbon podcast.
Mhm.
Oh, well, wow, we've gone almost 2 hours. What's the address? I'm a BCO. The address is 2209 6th Avenue, Charleston, West Virginia, 25387. If you put Cam's Service Center in Google, it will take you right to it. It sits behind the old Yellow Roadway terminal there in North Charleston.
And that's a good segue. The Cam shop, we are not, but Cam shop is a 120 Landstar approved inspection site now. So,
Almost. We're like right on. We're waiting on the
well,
pack.
we're approved. We're just waiting on the
Yeah.
stickers to come in. So, supplies.
Waiting on Landstar, something that we've gotten very accustomed to.
Yeah.
We're on Landstar time right now. But yeah, they're going to. I mean, you will be able to come here, get a 120, get an alignment, get OPS, supplies, max mileage, and then they're a full service shop. Hey, Larry Cawthon's checking in. So yeah, come on by Charleston. There's pretty much there's not anything that up until the alignment you couldn't get an alignment, but now we're doing that. But man, they do it all. They do engine work. Well, the only thing we haven't got set up yet is national tire accounts. That's proving to be like one of the rungs on the ladder to hell.
And the Blue Ribbon Specialized Services Shop is now an expert at doing overheads. We have a guy here that actually knows how to do
Yeah.
them. So if you have that overhead in 100,000 miles, now that needs to be done with the engine cold. So you got to come in the night before and stay, and then we'll do it the next morning.
Yeah, I'm going to be working on the website to get all of these things set up to where you can get them scheduled. Steve, no, it's not because of insurance. It's because these apparently, from what I'm hearing, these tire people are very territorial, and so it's hard for a new shop to get set up when there's somebody down the street that's doing national accounts. It's just apparently it's a nightmare to deal with, but we'll get there eventually. But everything else, and they've got some good diagnosticians there. So
the best one is next to me on the screen right here. By the way,
I'm working on getting there. I had a Carl Childers ain't got no gas in it moment today. There was this ice cream truck we were chasing. It had lights inside that wouldn't work, and man, the guys, they're trying to tear this whole thing apart. I saw a sticker on the front of it that said the name of the company that made it with a phone number. So I called them. I'm like, hey man, these lights inside here aren't working. You got some diagrams or something? The guy, and I could tell the guy's like driving home from work in his pickup truck with a cell phone. And he goes, yeah, there's a fuse on the battery box on top of the batteries. Oh, well, we pulled the cover off, and sure enough, there's a blown fuse. The lights came on. Sometimes you have to go to the simple stuff first, right? You can spend hours going down rabbit holes that you don't need to be in.
Yeah, spend $4,000 to get a starter replaced.
Yeah. All righty. Well, we're almost at the 2-hour mark, and that's usually where we shut her down. So I'm a little thirsty. So I might.
Well, look, guys, come visit us at the shop. We got lots of things we can do for you. You'll have a different experience at our shop. I can tell you that, because we treat you like you're supposed to be treated, and we've been the customer too long. We understand what it's like to be the customer. So I think when you come here, you'll realize that you're working with people that are not going to, take advantage of you. And we're priced fairly, and our work is extremely well done. and we stand behind it. So come visit us there. We'll have some announcements probably next week about a new program that's going to replace our live event this year that we're not going to do this year. So, so we'll have some announcements about that probably next week. We're meeting in the morning.
Yep.
But anyway, come visit us and let us do some work on your trucks for you. Get them straightened out.
All right. Everybody be good. We'll see you back next Friday.
Everybody be safe. Have a good week.